Hi, this is S.S. Wilson, one of the writers of Tremors 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm hoping you will tune into the They Bite podcast that talks about Tremors in its 30th year.
That's right. Graboid! That's it, Graboid!
I feel I was denied critical, need to know information.
Tremors.
Now they get you. They're under the goddamn ground.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the They Bite podcast. I'm Sean Beard. With me always, or with each other always, is Chris.
Hello, guys.
There he is. Yeah. And we have a hell of an episode today. We take it, Chris.
Well, I just want to say this is a very special episode. We are going out of the way of the Critters franchise for a bit to focus on another creature feature, and it just happens to be the 30th anniversary this year for the franchise, and that is the Tremors franchise.
That's right. Yeah, see, we almost lost people there. They were like, no Critters, and then you bring up Tremors. I know we got everyone back on board instantly.
And a very special interview. We have the writer of Tremors himself is Steve Wilson, S.S. Wilson.
Oh, yeah, man. It's going to be exciting. I mean, Tremors, one of my favorite movies of all time. I'd imagine yours as well, right?
Oh, yeah. Right after Critters, it's Tremors. Second favorite film franchise of all time. Second favorite
Wow,
movie.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yep.
You like it more than me then. I mean, it's probably in my top 5, but I don't know if I could put it right behind Critters.
Yep, it is.
Boy. Wow, that's awesome. I don't even really own too much Critters or Tremors memorabilia. You do. You have like the video rental store spiral thing.
Yeah, I got that. I have this really cool Tremors fan art poster that I got from a convention, where it's like a golden color background with a graboid coming out, like the mouth is coming toward the picture, and then like people are running out of the mouth. Like, oh, it's really cool. I'd have to show you, Sean.
Yeah. So show me that sometime. But yeah, Tremors totally affected me as a kid. I've never grown out of it. I watched the movie on the 30th anniversary. I mean, it holds up unbelievably, and it is one of the best monster movie franchises of all time. You know, it's hard to believe how old it's getting. It's making me feel old, actually, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's younger than the Critters franchise.
It is. It feels it, though. There's something about the Tremors, especially the first one. It does not feel like any decade of a movie to me. I mean, it doesn't. Obviously, it's not the black and white era or anything, but it doesn't feel 80s. It doesn't feel 90s. I guess that's what makes it even more timeless.
Yeah, it to me it has a 90s feel to it. Oh, actually, I take it back. It has an 80s feel to it with a 90s look because it was shot at the end. It was shot in 89 and then released in 1990. So like it was in that transition there where like the film quality was a little different. So it looks like it's from the 90s, but it feels like it's from the 80s.
Have you ever had this thought? I actually compare Tremors to Critters 2 a lot, how it kind of has this Western vibe to it, and a lot of the music sounds a lot alike as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's just where it takes place in a desert town. I think you get that feel regardless.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I think they're like related. I'm serious. Okay, enough about Critters. Sorry, but so you want to segue into this interview, or?
Yeah. So, guys, just stay tuned real quickly, and we're going to have our special interview with writer Steve Wilson.
All right. Yeah.
Hi. The 30th anniversary of Tremors is generating all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it should. Man.
It's crazy that 30 years has already passed since then. I remember watching this movie on TV on like TNT and stuff back before even Tremors 2 came out and everything, it's just so strange that it's already passed up to 30 years.
Tell me about it.
Would you say that all the TV airings and all that is where most fans have discovered it? Have you heard over the years and whatnot? Or
Tremors did okay, but the studio was quite disappointed in it. In fact, I've told this story before, but the studio head called me the weekend after it came out and said, "Well, we just blew it. Sorry about that." And, they didn't know how to market. There wasn't the Tremors thing back in those days. The marketing department's not going to make a mistake. It's just that they said, well, it's sort of half funny and half horror. We don't know what to do with this. So I don't know if anything could have told the audience what it was. But what, of course, happened, as you guys know, I'm sure, is that VHS was coming along right at the same time, and the idea of having a video store where you'd go rent things. So over the course of the next few years, Tremors really took off in video as more and more people discovered it. Without that, I don't think we would be here.
Yeah, that's one thing is I remember because I had a TV recording of it on a VHS tape that I wore the thing out so much I had to go and buy the VHS tape.
I love that. I'll do my other story that I tell all the time. I got a letter from a kid in Australia many years ago who had worn out the copy in his local store, which was miles from any other store. God knows where he lived. And we weren't able to help him because it was all PAL, different system over there.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool, though, man.
So, Steve, you wrote the first Tremors movie, and if I recall, it was originally supposed to be titled Land Sharks, correct?
Well, not really, in the sense that that's what we called it when we first discussed it. And right about that time, Saturday Night Live began doing Land Shark. So we quickly abandoned that idea. And never did come up with a title we liked after that. It wasn't ever seriously proposed because SNL was doing Land Shark, so there was no way we could do that.
So who ultimately came up with Tremors?
The studio insisted upon it.
Okay.
It was called Beneath Perfection. That was the title that we chose. Excuse me. And that's what the jackets say to this day, the crew jackets. And we couldn't come up with anything else. We liked it because it was well, we knew the movie was quirky. We hadn't set out to do quirky, but as we got into it and revised the script and began shooting, we said, well, it's kind of a strange blend of comedy and horror. Beneath Perfection maybe says something like that. So the studio wasn't really paying attention. We actually shot under the name Dead Silence. All of our slates, some of which we still have, the slates that mark the sound for the movie, say Dead Silence on them. And Gail Ann Hurd just wanted a title to put on her slates, and she didn't want Beneath Perfection. So Ron just told the story. In fact, it's the 30th anniversary event out in Lone Pine. Ron Underwood, the director, and I had heard it, and hearing him tell it again, I guess it may be actually true. Tom Pollock, the head of Universal Studios, when he got his crew jacket, supposedly threw it back at the crew member who presented it to him and said, "There's no way we're calling it Beneath Perfection." So we were at a loss. We were going to call the creatures graboids. We had come up with that term, and we built that into the script. And we thought, well, we call it graboid? I don't think so. So at a certain point, we were going down the road to being released, and the studio said, all right, you're calling it Tremors. End of story.
Yeah. It's so weird because I can't picture it being titled anything else other than...
I know. It's been there so long now that it just seems to fit. Yeah.
So,
but over the years, though, it turned into a thing where, unless you're like a diehard fan or really paid attention, a lot of people did think the monster was called Tremors. That came up a lot.
We didn't know that for years. It wasn't until sort of the next generation of fans started emailing and writing us letters and whatnot and said, when the tremor comes through the floor in Chang's Market, how did you...
Yeah.
We're looking at each other, literally, what are they talking about? The tremor comes through the floor? And then we realized, of course, they're tremors. The monsters are tremors.
It's come up so many times in my life where I'm talking about the movie, referring to the monsters as graboids, and people are like, graboids? And I'm like, I thought you knew the movie, dude.
The super hardcore fans that came to the thing out in the middle of the desert, some of them weren't aware, really, as many times they've seen the movie, that it's built into the movie. And Walter calls them Grabble.
Well, I guess that's a testament to just how the range of people that love this movie, you know, like you have your diehard fans, but I think just casual, like, viewers, because it was on USA and TNT, so many people saw it. And it's just, I've never met anyone that doesn't like this movie, to be honest with you. I've never met anybody.
I can agree with that. And the thing I hear that's very heartening, you asked this actually at the beginning, I didn't really answer it. Once it got out in video and then began turning up on cable TV over and over and over, but the main thing you hear is, oh, I'd always thought it was a horror film and I didn't want to see it. But it's so cool. It's super fun. I mean, I honestly think it's probably the last, like, best creature feature, you know, like big monster movie, especially made in America. But I think, as far as real effects, no CGI and all that stuff, I mean, it still holds. I watch it for the 30th anniversary, not that I haven't seen it a lot in life. The special effects still hold up to this day. I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, we're very pleased about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. I mean,
to me, those special effects, they actually made it look like the creature was an actual existing creature, and that's what attracted me to this movie so much.
Yeah, well, that was the goal, and that's why they have tentacles. We knew we couldn't possibly afford to see the whole creature 8 foot tall, sticking out of the ground all the time. So,
but at the same time, I mean, you guys don't really hold back, whereas like Jaws, you know, they hold back the whole time and don't show you too much. I mean, you see a lot of the creature in the movie.
You do see that a fair amount, yeah.
And I think one of my favorite things about it is most monster movies, creature features, whatever, take place, you know, in the dark. And this is like an all daylight monster movie. You really get to see it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that was a challenge, and that was scary for the effects guys, the creature designer guys, you know, of Amalgamated Dynamics. They're like, oh boy,
people don't do
daylight,
that.
Huh? Okay, you're looking rubber in broad daylight here. We better be careful.
I mean, most monster movies out now, it's at night and it's raining. You know, they're just obscuring it as much as they possibly can. You know,
when our director of photography, Alex, came onto the movie, he said, "You sure you're not going to shoot this at night?" And he said, "No, we're not."
No, in fact, I think the only like real scene that's at night, you don't even see it. It's like one of the ground scenes. So I mean, there's so much props. How different is because you wrote it? How different is the movie from what you actually wrote?
Not very at all, because we were in control from day one. The whole point of this movie was to produce it ourselves, because we were.
That's amazing.
We were frustrated. We were at that time quite successful Hollywood writers. We had written a number of big movies by that time, but they were all. We had learned the lesson that writers are not really welcome on the set, nor do they want to hear what you think of their movie and how they're making it. And so we had talked to our agent, and she was the one who encouraged us to write it. And so we wrote it without getting paid for it. We wrote it on spec, that's called. And then we shopped it around with ourselves attached and our buddy Ron Underwood attached to direct it. And that's how we we're not selling this unless it goes that way. It wasn't easy to sell it that way, but we finally found a home at Universal. And so to answer your question, we did 7 drafts of the script, and 7 drafts is what we shot. And most of the changes, some of the changes were taking out sequences that had more effects in them because we didn't have the money. Most of the changes had to do with taking out comedy, believe it or not. The earlier drafts were funnier.
Really?
But not in a good way. They were funny in that they made fun of the monster, or they made fun of the people.
Okay, yeah, no.
We began to say, no, we can't make fun of the monster. It's got to be real. The people have to react. So any line that wasn't exactly sort of what we thought somebody would really say in that situation fell out. But it's pretty much what we wrote.
That's awesome. Did you expect Bert to become such a focused franchise now?
Oh no, we especially
no. I mean, you can tell watching
after the call from Universal, we blew it. Sorry, it's dead. And then of course, it was years before Tremors 2 became an idea, and that was directly related to the success in video, which we weren't really monitoring. We were off writing more movies and doing our thing. And we get this call one day from the video division, and they go, "We got to have Tremors 2. We got to have it. We got to have it." do you want to do it? And we said, well, yeah, we want to do it. What are you talking about? And they said, well, it's a huge hit. Come on. We're like, okay. And then there was a brief flurry then where we tried to get Reba back, and we flew to New York and talked to Kevin, but Kevin wasn't interested in, for many, many years. He has finally changed all 30 years later, but for many years.
So has Reba recently.
Well, yes, that actually came up at the 30th. But anyway, Reba, she was actually off doing another movie, and then Kevin just said, look, I don't want to go back to this role. And when people talk to me about the movie, they never say you're so cool. They say the monsters are so cool. So
I think later people have changed on that. I mean,
well, of course. I mean, I will to this day, I will say, it's one of Kevin's best roles. I think he's just awesome. We were so lucky to get him. And we never, ever knew that he was after the fact, he kind of joked about it a lot on talk shows and stuff. He really did call it the low point of his career for years, which was always kind of hard for us to hear.
To me, it's like one of the highest points in his career, because that's one of my favorite movies he's done.
Yeah. It's just awesome. He transcends everything else he's done. He's so good as Val. So like I said, but he couldn't have been more professional, don't get me wrong. And he was super nice to us when we were begging him to be in Tremors 2. I mean, it wasn't like he said, go jump off a bridge or anything.
Right.
He met with us, and he was very measured and said, well, gee, guys, I really don't want to do it, and I'm sorry. And, he did not say, I hate your movie. So.
Did you by chance see a few years ago he made kind of a parody commercial of himself where he played his biggest fan?
Oh, yeah, that was hysterical.
Yeah, and his front yard, there's like a graboid coming out.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think he was finally beginning to realize, boy, this isn't going to go away. People really do love this thing. So
yeah, no doubt. That was awesome.
So did you have the story for Tremors 2 written out already, ready for Kevin Bacon to be back, or did you guys ask him first and then create the story?
We wrote the script, starring him and Fred and Michael and Reba, and then got told no.
Wow.
Had to run back and rewrite the script.
Now, is that script, the original script, is it available to read anywhere?
That's a good question. It would be in the computer era, so it could be living in one of my ancient computers around here.
I would love to read that.
Yeah, I'm sure every fan would love to hear it.
Well, it's a little bit dicey for the author, for the screenwriter to hand out scripts, because technically the script is owned by the studio. Yeah. But let me look and see if it exists.
Well, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So it isn't well, no, it's actually pretty different, because of course the Grady role for Tremors 2 was the Val role, so it completely flipped in the sense that he was the super fan, and so yeah, it would have been. I don't know. Well, I can say I'll look. I know it existed at one time.
So, what kind of challenges did you face writing the screenplay for Tremors 2 as opposed to doing Part 1?
Well, it was the biggest step for us was, what do we do with these creatures? We kind of, and our whole take on screenwriting has always been, to try to always come at something from a different angle. Tremors is an example of that, in the sense that we literally chose Val and Earl as the leads because we knew we were doing a 50s monster movie, the kind of stuff that we grew up with. And we said, okay, we're doing a 50s monster, but it's not going to be a scientist in the lead. It's not going to be the sheriff. It's not going to be the head of the National Guard. Not any of those people. It's going to be these two weird guys who don't even want this problem. And we did the same thing with the character of Rhonda and the other people in town. So for Tremors 2, the first thing we said was, there's going to be no Queen Graboid. No matter how many people beg for it, there will never be a Queen Graboid. and if you don't do that, how do you up the ante? And that's when we said, well, so we just kept throwing ideas around, and finally somebody said, well, what if they fragmented into something small? Would that be scary? Could it be scary? And we talked to the effects guys, Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis at ADI, and they said, well, tiny monsters are kind of hard to do. They always look kind of cute, but maybe. And so that's how the Shriekers were born. We said, all right, they turn into a lot of things.
I think the cuteness of the Shriekers adds to their lovability, though, because they're scary but cute. That's what makes them awesome.
Yeah, and Tom and Alex said, this is going to happen. They're going to look cute. There's no way around it. I don't care how ugly we make them. It's the nature of babies. And so we kind of worked with that. That's why the very first time you see it, Earl and Grady react the way they do. It hops out in front of them. They think it's going to be huge, and then they shoot it, and then they go, when Earl says, "That's it."
So what kind of memories do you have being on set of the first two movies that you maybe have not shared in commentaries or on DVDs or anything?
Wow, boy, that I've not shared. That's an interesting one, because 30 years later you find yourself telling stories over and over.
Or any story that you remember that you'd want to share with us.
Well, I'm just trying to think. I'm also, I don't know if you're aware, I just started putting online bits and pieces of videotape that my dad shot on the first movie.
Yes, I've been keeping up with those. Those were really, really interesting.
Yeah, they're sort of only for hardcore fans, because Dad shot mostly not, he didn't shoot the cast, he didn't shoot takes, he just wandered around shooting all kinds of random stuff, which now for a lot of people is pretty interesting. Anyway, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about one time when I had to move. There was a thing called Mule Days in Lone Pine, and the motels were booked for Mule Days prior to our booking our motels. So some of us, including me, had to move an hour north to a strange little motel in another little town. And somewhere I had video of myself in my strange room. It was pretty run down. And then, Charlotte just told the story. Charlotte Stewart, who plays Nancy, she just told the story, which I didn't know. She looked forward to weekends. She and some of the other cast members would go to that same town, Bishop. It's about an hour north of Lone Pine, and to go horseback riding on their days off. I literally did not know this until 2 weeks ago. What else was going on? We had crazy dust storms, snow, rain, hail, jets flying over, and here's one I bet I've never told. So when it came time for the graboid to come through the floor of the store and get Walter Chang as Victor Wong, the makeup effects people, we wanted something to happen to him after the first time he is hit. So somebody said, "Oh, well, it gives him a bloody nose." And so the effects people said, "Okay, well, here's how you do that. Here's how you do it. Don't worry, Walter, it works perfect. We put fake blood up your nose. You just hold it in, and then you tip your head down really fast, and then blow it out. It'll work great." Well, they're doing this. But Walter is a pretty old guy by then, and I can hear him choking. It's running down his throat. And, he's, a dedicated actor. He's going to hang in there and try to do it. But I remember being very uncomfortable listening to Walter choking before each take as they're dumping the stuff down his nose. They got his head tilted back, and they're pouring blood down his nose. I'm going, is this worth it? I'm thinking at the time. But it actually works. The shot actually works.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And maybe that added, maybe him choking added to the look on his face and everything.
I can tell you he was really miserable. So that.
All right. So, Sean, Steve just told a awesome story about the character, or the guy who plays Walter Chang, putting blood into his mouth during the filming of his death scene.
God damn it, and I missed it.
Well, you'll have to listen to the podcast now.
No, I'm kidding. All right, continue, wherever.
So, Steve, you also had a time doing Tremors 4 as well. You were the director of that one, correct?
Correct.
So how did it go about going from, modern time filming to going back into the past, into the Old West, and filming something?
Well, it was great fun emotionally. It was difficult technically, budget-wise. All these things that we'd never done on a Tremors. And these budgets were less than half of the original Tremors for Tremors 2, 3, and 4. We were trying to make the world very consistent. And here's how that developed. Universal told us Tremors 3 is absolutely the last Tremors. We will not do any more after Tremors 3. So we said, okay. good. Then we'll create another form of the monster, and there Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis were very involved. They were key to coming up with the Ass Blaster idea, and which was great, which we had great fun with. And I don't think we had finished shooting Tremors 3 when they said, you know what, we're wrong. We need Tremors 4.
Oh, wow.
We said, dude, we just closed the door here. We made a trilogy. We're done here. And I said to the executive who called me, I said, I mean, seriously, we'd have to do something like, just go to the Old West and do a sequel. She said, I don't care. So I said, okay.
Wow.
They just want a box with Tremors on it. So I said, okay. So, then we contacted Michael and said, what do you think about playing the opposite of Bert? He loved that idea. I don't think the fans love that idea as much. Although I do meet people who love Tremors 4, but
I love Tremors 4.
That was a hard one for fans, but we had a blast making it. I mean, Michael just had a blast doing that strange character, and and again, we were just so lucky. We had mostly the same effects people, great DP, great crew, and yeah, it was hard. I mean, it was hard with all and there was weird stuff that I don't know. I never did a Western. I don't know anything about horses and.
I was going to ask, actually.
You can't do this and that, and you can't do. We did have horses actually in Tremors 2. Now, Tremors originally, I'd forgotten. That's right. We had a whole problem with them too because they didn't like the tentacles at all.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the poor horse that got eaten, that gets attacked. I guess it's Earl's horse that gets attacked, and Val shoots the tentacle off of it. Like that
I've always wondered how that worked because. Nowadays most things would be like, PETA and stuff, and you wouldn't be able to like put, actual animals in danger. But those tentacles wrapped around that horse, how dangerous was that?
Well, the horse was sedated a little bit. He was also handpicked to be as a horse who had done a lot of weird stuff. He'd been in movies before, so.
What kind of movies?
He didn't love it, but he was not freaking out or thrashing around or anything. In my memory, I hope I'm not wrong about this. And we actually did have, animal people, even back in those days, it was just 1989, we did have, animal people on set approving our steps that we took. And then, of course, when the squib goes off, you shoot the tentacle, that's just on a dummy piece of horse flesh. That's not the horse. So he wasn't really wrapped up in the tentacles very long.
Gotcha. It's very, very effective. It looks so real.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's funny, when we were shooting it, there were times when we were looking at our rubber tentacles and our rubber graboids, going, God, is this working? Don't know.
So being on the set of these movies, did you get to be involved with, like, I know there was a lot of holes they had to dig to get underground for all the creature effects and stuff. Did you help out with a lot of the effects and stuff, or were you just stayed back and watching everything unfold?
Well, I was very involved, as second unit director on Tremors 2 and 3. I'm sorry, Tremors 1 and 3. So in the sense that I was there all the time, yes. In the sense, was I digging holes? Not so much. We had, decent movie crews. These were not movies where everybody was doing everything. We had good effects teams and makeup effects teams and dressing team. On Tremors 1, there was a team who did nothing but cart sagebrush around and park it and plant it where we needed it. Somewhere in my video, in my dad's videos, there's a shot of a cart full of sagebrush, which I'll put that on one of these days. So no, I was not digging a hole. I mean, occasionally you get in there with a broom and broom out a footstep or something, but generally you leave each of the jobs to the teams that are the professionals.
Gotcha. I don't know if I could hold myself to do that. If I was ever on one of the Tremors sets, I'd be like down there, like underneath the creature and stuff, trying to work it myself. I'd get kicked off the set.
Yeah.
Well, there were times
with
the big graboids where everybody who wasn't doing something was working a lever, because it was, there was 3 levers per tentacle, so 9, at least 3 levers per tentacle. So there'd be 9 people minimum to run the 3 tentacles, and then a couple more levers running the beak, and a couple other levers running the head. So there is a funny shot somewhere of the whole crew. And
that'd be awesome.
And there's a guy, there's an executive from Universal working one of the levers.
Wow.
So we did
it strikes me as a movie where the props just get destroyed by the end of it. Like all the monsters are just more or less torn to pieces.
Not really. There's
really?
a very nice. There's one very nice one in the museum at Lone Pine. It's been fixed up. I mean, the ADI people fixed it up, but the graboids existed for quite a while. They're made of rubber, and it's a kind of rubber that doesn't last very well. So 30 years later, I'm sure, other than the one at the museum, they're not in good shape. But by the time we did Tremors 2, that was years later, there was one sitting in the shop that we put on the wall in Bert's basement when these first introduced, and that one was pretty much off the shelf.
So that was used. That was one of them that was from the first Tremors movie. That's kind of cool.
I'm going to say that, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. I don't know that we made a complete full graboid for Tremors 2. I may be wrong about that. We did make new quarter scale ones because we did more miniature work in Tremors 2 because it was much easier.
Now you were also involved with the series.
Yeah, my partner.
I absolutely love that series. It's so good. I don't know. Do most people not? I love it. It's so good.
Well, I don't know. We look at it somewhat askance because it was so hard to get our team of writers writing the way we wanted them to write. Oddly enough, people think Tremors is slapstick, and if you've seen Tremors 5 or 6, you probably know that.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, okay.
And it's a mistake that every writer made when they came in. The first drafts we got were Jody and Nancy are drunk in the store, and we're like, what? No, but it's funny. And you go, Jody drunk? Are you kidding me? The workaholic girl who runs her store, her Graboid franchise? No. So there was a lot of rough ground to get over and rewriting of everybody. That's what you do. I mean, if you create a show, you're in television, you're responsible for making the scripts all mesh up, and that's what we did. But I'm glad to hear. I mean, I'm not that people have ever said we hate the show. We felt like the show was very hard to keep under control.
Well, it aired completely out of order and everything too, I recall, and it was just so confusing. Yeah, what was the reason for that, or was that just out of your control?
Sci-Fi refused to listen to us. They had their idea was they didn't like the second episode.
Okay.
They said we just don't want that to run second because it's going to hurt our ratings. So we said, well, but you have to. They're in order for a reason.
Yeah, there's continuity.
We don't care. We think that we will get we'll get a better audience by running them out of order and making them confusing.
And didn't they actually run the last episode second, if I'm remembering right? I mean, it was really weird.
I don't remember. It was all of a night. It was a nightmarish time. Our relationship with the studio continued to deteriorate.
Right.
So what ultimately came about of it getting only one season? Because I know that there was ideas pitched around for like a second season where it was supposed to be like Val and Earl, and they would have like different types of like Monster of the Week thing, or was that supposed to be the first season?
That is actually a different pitch for a different TV show. We pitched Tremors as a series before Sci-Fi ever came to us and asked for the series, and we didn't sell it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What you just said. So in the vagaries of the internet out there, that story has gotten put out of order.
Gotcha.
It was, that's what we pitched, was Val and Earl, kind of monster, and going around the world running into different monsters. And I forget who we pitched. We pitched it to several studios, and nobody picked it up. And then we forgot all about it, and then Sci-Fi called us years later and said, hey, what about Tremors the series? And we said, sure. And they said, well, but if it's a series, we're going to have to base it. We're going to have to build the town and base it. It's got to really take place in the town. It can't be a different location every week. It's too expensive. So we restructured the idea. We used some of the monsters from the original pitch, but we.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, some of the thing in the trees and I forget, but some of the monsters from the original pitch made it into the series.
My favorite episode is on the one with the plants that shoot out the pollen that kind of like makes like acid.
Yeah, that one ruled.
Love that one.
Anything to do with 5 and 6?
I'm sorry, you cut out there for a second. What?
Oh, so did you have anything to do with 5 and 6?
Well, 5 was ostensibly based on our script. We wrote Tremors 5 as soon as we finished Tremors 4. And
okay.
We set it in Australia, and the idea was, the way you thought back in those days was, well, it's a handoff episode. You know, everybody's getting older. Michael's getting tired of doing Bert. Let's hand it off to a younger cast. So that was what happened in that show, and we had all hell breaking loose in Australia, and then Tremors 4 did not do as well as they thought it was going to, so then they shelved it. So then years later they came back and said, hey, we're going to do Tremors 5. We said, fine. And they said, the only hitch is you guys aren't going to work on it. And we said, why? And they said, well, we're not going to tell you. So
yeah, that's something that it kind of made me not like Universal after the fact that they would not let Stampede be a part of the series afterwards. Very disheartening.
Yeah, it was certainly disheartening for us.
Yeah.
And like I say, I mean, their half-assed reason was you don't know how to make low-budget movies. And we said, well, what do you think Tremors 2, 3, and 4 in the series were? They were the lowest-budget things you could possibly hand us. And we barely got by.
And they rule.
So I don't know what I to this day I do not know why they did that. But they said you absolutely will have no involvement. We would like you to rewrite your script, but you will have no involvement in the show of any kind. And we said, I'll tell you what, why don't you rewrite the script and we won't be involved. So then our script got thrown out and into Tremors 5.
Okay. Well, that does explain a lot because I'm just not that into that one or 6, honestly. And I'm guessing you had nothing to do with 6.
Nothing at all. I didn't know they were doing it, and only because I ran into Michael at the 30th that I know there was a 7.
Okay. Have you watched them? I take it not.
No. I watched 5, and I was so horrified that
it really sucks.
I decided I can't do this thing anymore. Yeah, every rule we ever had was broken, and every cliche we never did was in there. So
it was awful, man, and I hated the redesign. Awful.
Now, did you have any input or did anybody go to you whenever Kevin Bacon did his TV series pilot?
Oh, there again, another mystery. They called us initially. The studio that did it said, hey, Kevin's interested in doing series. Do you want to meet? And we said, oh, my God, of course. God, we would love to do that. So then we called to set the meeting, and obviously whoever had called had made a mistake because they were really rattled on the other end and said, I'm sorry, that meeting can't happen. And that's all we know.
Really? That's the story?
That's the story.
Wow, that sucks.
Oh, my God. Another reason to hate Universal.
That was some other studio, actually. That wasn't Universal. Universal licensed them the rights, but you'd have to look around to find out who actually made the show.
I take it you haven't seen that pilot, probably, right?
Well, it isn't shown very much. For whatever reason, it was not picked up, and Kevin, he really pushed for it, but
it looks good, honestly. It looks way better than the last 2 entries.
Well, it's funny, the picture of him in front of the store, even though it's painful to see him and the cast in front of the store, and and supposedly the talent is sitting out there somewhere in New Mexico. The rebuilt perfection is sitting there waiting for something to happen.
Wow, that's insane.
So, you want to talk a little bit about the 30th anniversary and what all happened there and what did everybody get to experience? I know there's some videos going around of like some tours you guys took everybody on.
Yeah, well, we did. First, I want to say that the little museum of Western film history in Lone Pine set this thing up and did just the most extraordinary job. I mean, it's a staff of like 4 people. The museum itself is awesome, by the way. I had not been to it since it got its graboid and a bunch of other stuff that it has. But, I mean, it has, so many movies have been shot in Lone Pine going back to 1911 or something.
That's incredible.
There's just crazy awesome stuff. And they decided to limit it to their one theater. They can do bigger events, but they didn't want to. So it's literally 100 fans squeezed into their one little theater. Excuse me. And I just can't say enough about the museum and their staff and how wonderful that was. And then the fans themselves were awesome because this was hardcore people. They came from all over the country.
That's so wild.
Half the states in the Union were there. A local sheriff in Texas brought his copy of Bert's elephant gun that she has restored and put it on display. Got a picture of Michael holding it. And then yes, they had contacted me a few months before and said, hey, can you help us find any locations? And I said, I don't think you're going to find them. They said, what about the pole vaulting rocks? And I said, you're not going to find it. The rocks are all fake. They're not there anymore. And I was sure I was right. And so I get on one of the tours, and the second place we go is the pole vaulting rock. And I'm like, now what they meant was the rock that they spend the night on, that they take off from. And son of a gun, I recognized it as soon as I walked up to it. I never could have found it myself. I mean, there's hundreds of square miles of rocks out here in the Alabama hills. But the tour was quite touching and moving, So we all took turns being Kevin Bacon on the rock, and everybody took a picture of everybody else posing the way he's posed. It's the scene where Kevin is whacking a stick on the ground and a tentacle to confirm that the monster is still there after he and Rhonda and Earl had spent the night on the rock. But then we worked all the way around that rock and shot a bunch of that stuff so you can pose yourself anywhere you want. They had found that. They had found the place where they parked Rhonda's truck. And again, as soon as I got there, I shot some of that stuff in second unit, and I'm going, oh my God, this is it. They had found, this one is easy. There's a road where the road workers jackhammer takes off like a harpoon whale, and early on in the movie, and that road is called Tuttle Creek Road, and everybody has always known where that is. In fact, one of the tour guys who's been there all these years said when his kids were little, the trough that we made in the pavement with the jackhammer had been paved over, but it had sunk in, so you always knew when you ran over where the jackhammer went. So when his kids were little and they were driving home from being anywhere out in town, they'd go bump bump Tremors.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So anyway, the fans were amazing. One lady told us about tracking down Val and Earl's very hard to find truck, the Jeep Gladiator. She owns one. And some people said that Bert had changed their lives and allowed them to live and be themselves. It was quite nice. And gosh, so many people were there. Robert James, who plays Bobby, who plays Melvin, was there, and Michael, and Charlotte Stewart, who plays Nancy, and Sean Christian, who was in Tremors 3, was there. And me and Ron and Brent and production designer Euro Costante, who had a huge impact on the movie. He's in one of my first videos that I put up. So anyway, I can't say enough about it. It was really heartwarming and just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I really wish I could have been there, but I'm all the way out here in Kentucky. I just couldn't afford to go all the way out there for it.
Yeah, well, it was everybody there had to face that decision, and it wasn't easy, and it was limited. I mean, it sold out, and that was it, 100 seats. So.
Yeah, I saw somebody posted a picture of the screening room being sold out, and I was so happy to see that it was sold out, and I'm glad that everybody got to experience that.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm glad that hopefully the museum made some of their money back anyway.
So what is the biggest memory you have from working on any of the Tremors movies?
Well, it's interesting. Excuse me. Biggest memory of working on Tremors. They all, to some extent, they sort of blend together. I mean, when we were doing Tremors, we were worried all the time. We thought it was going well, but you're never really sure. The editor's working away, and each day you look at 30 seconds of film and go, well, I guess that was good. I hope that was good. So you tend to remember the negative nights. The worst night on Tremors was the night the car did not sink into the ground.
Oh, wow.
It looks like it does, but that's an absolute tribute to Ron's ability to roll with the punches, Ron Underwood. I mean, he's a really good editor on top of being a good director, and he knows what he needs to sell an idea. And the effects guys came to us early that night and said, well, guys, the car's not going to sink. Good luck. It would move a little bit.
Sorry, guys. Continue.
I was just commenting on the technology, even though it's a little hit and miss tonight. It is amazing. When we did Tremors, someone drove the film to Los Angeles each night. It was processed at night, and then they drove the film back 3.5, 4-hour drive to Lone Pine the next day, and that night we would watch it with a real film projector in one of the restaurants.
Oh, wow.
And that's how you watched your dailies. There was no
wow.
video.
So how long did it take you, Sean, you missed this part, but how long did it take you to get that car scene going underground? How long did it take you to get that the way you guys wanted it?
Well, we never got it the way we wanted it. It was supposed to sink into the dirt, and the effects guys had done a huge rig to make that happen, but they had made a miscalculation, and it's a long story. It'll be in my videos. And it didn't work. The car would move, but it wouldn't sink down into the pit, nor could you see the edges of the car. In order to get the car to move at all, we had to dig the pit out and see a giant hole around the car. So we weren't sure we had a sequence we could use at all when we left that night. It was pretty depressing. But Ron had done all these frantic things to figure out what to do. He took cameras were up on cranes looking down at the car. We couldn't do that angle. So he threw the cameras on the ground. The crew piled dirt up in front of the cameras so you couldn't see the hole. And the people moved the car as much as it would move. And we put BB Dash in there and shot a little bit with her. And called it a night. The sun was coming up and we were done. That was probably the worst night on the whole show, actually. It was the very last night we shot.
Oh, really? Wow.
Well, it was never going to be in the movie. By then, the studio was liking the movie. They had seen the dailies and they'd seen the rough cuts, and they were going, it's pretty good. And I talked to one of the executives there and said, we cut a really cool scene out to save money where the car sinks right into the dirt. It'd be really cool. Nobody's ever seen it before. I can tell you, I've seen a lot of B-monster movies. And they said, okay, send me a budget. So we got an extra few $100,000 to shoot our sinking car on our very last night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
That is one of the best scenes, too.
I know. I always knew it.
Yeah.
I knew my B-movie monsters backwards and forwards. And Jim Jacks did, too. Jim Jacks was the executive who really supported us all the way through this. And so Jim was the one I would call if I was begging for something. And Jim, come on. All those old movies, you've never seen a car just sink into the ground. And he's like, okay.
Oh, that's awesome. What would you say is your favorite of the sequels?
Oh, gosh. I guess I'd have to say Tremors 2, because a lot of stuff came together really well for Tremors 2. I love doing Tremors 4, don't get me wrong. I love doing it. And we loved doing Tremors 3 because we went back to perfection and we got so many of the original cast to come back. That was a huge amount of fun. Tremors 3 is slightly goofier, slightly more comedic. That's the way my partner leans, Brent Maddock. He directed Tremors 3. So I think that's why Brent wanted it to be funnier. But the surprises in Tremors 2 to me worked the best. The weird funny shriekers and the weird things that happen, and poor Earl just getting further and further behind the 8 ball. Doesn't want to be there to begin with. I just watched them all in preparation. So if I'm forced to pick, I guess it would be Tremors 2, but it would only by a very thin margin. I like them all.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 would be my favorite as well of them. Actually, I don't know. I think the series might be my. I really love the series.
I actually find that very interesting. Yeah, because boy, we it felt like chaos to us, but it did come together. And of course, thankfully, Michael was kind of holding the fort down in Mexico, and being because we weren't there for most of the shooting. Where we were there every day on all the other shows, being shot in Mexico, and we were writing in Los Angeles. So.
Do you see much more for the franchise at this point, honestly?
Well, like I said, I haven't seen 6, and I don't think I will see 7.
No, it's the only one I turned off ever.
Well,
I really haven't finished it, man. Yeah.
And Michael did say, I hope I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Say it.
Well, Michael hinted at the 30th that he thought they might be done. They Universal.
Yeah.
So they may have run it into the ground at this point. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, obviously somebody buys them and watches them. So, that's all the studio cares about.
It seems likely that there will be a reboot eventually.
Well, it's interesting. It's getting pretty late to do that. I mean, unless it's just all new people. We talked about it a little bit at the 30th. Everybody kind of joked about it. We started joking about it because A, Kevin did his series, and B, Reba did this interview. It literally got on everybody's phone while we were there. We're like, hey, we're all running around. Did you see what Reba said? And she's began
playing that song live again. I don't know if you've heard that one, but
the ending title song?
Yes, and she introduces it, she's like, I don't know if you've seen a little movie named Tremors, and the crowd goes fucking insane.
Of course they go nuts, yeah.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah. Well, anyway,
regardless.
We talked about it, and there's a lot of hoops that would have to be jumped through. I think someone would have to, commission a script, which hopefully Brent and I would write, and then, because Kevin and Reba are not going to say yes without seeing a script. So somebody's got to spend the money for the script, and then everybody has to weigh in and say we like it or we don't like it, and then a lot of other budgetary decisions have to be made, and are we going to use Kevin's town in New Mexico? Is that even doable? And do we want to go back to the town? And what are all these characters doing 30 years later? So, there's a lot of political things would have to happen for it to be real.
No matter whatever happens with the franchise from here on out, no matter if there's a remake, reboot, or a new series, I really hope that Universal or whoever gets the rights allows Stampede and you guys to make the film or series, because you guys are what really hold the franchise together, and you are the best and biggest part of the franchise, and you all really need to be a part of it.
And the proof is in the pudding.
We believe that, but it's nice that somebody else does. It's not Universal.
Yeah, I think most people who care do. Universal just doesn't care. The props that you've kept over the years.
I do have a few things. Back in the days of Tremors, you did ad campaigns and press campaigns. And the studio made quite a few funny things. I have a funny little cactus. It doesn't work anymore. It's a battery-powered cactus that sort of shimmies like a hula dancer. And I have a welcome mat that says Tremors, but it has bite marks chewed out of the edges.
Really?
Yeah, there was. I've never even taken it out of its original form. They made tentacles that were flat pieces of cardboard in a circular piece of cardboard, and if you grabbed the tail of the tentacle, you could unspool it like what a fly strip is? Or are you way too young to know what a fly strip is?
Yeah, I know what it is. I actually have one of those pieces you're talking about, the cardboard ones. Yeah, I have one.
Oh, okay. Well, then you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a video store promo, actually, wasn't it?
That's what it was. It was a video store promo. Yeah, there was quite a bit of stuff done for Tremors 2 in video, too, because they used to promote those, like movies.
Yeah, there's even there's like a little bag of gummy worms that says Tremors on it that was given to video rental stores too. Yeah, that's something that I'd spend too much money to get, definitely. Oh, that's awesome. Screen used props, do you have any?
Say again?
Screen used props. Have you kept any?
There's a few things from Tremors 2. I'm sorry, from Tremors 3. Glasses and things. I can't swear that they were on camera. They were in Jody's store was dressed out with a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Coffee cups and glasses.
Yeah, there's a lot of that on eBay. There's like a snow globe and stuff like that, and Frisbees.
So it's sort of on camera. I have a couple of Tremors beer glasses that were probably sort of on camera. Nothing really. Nothing springs to mind. I have a quarter scale graboid, but that was custom made by ADI for me and Brent and Ron. It wasn't actually in the movie. It's cast of a different material, so it'll last forever. I forget what it's cast of, but
polyurethane or something.
I don't know. It's hard as a rock.
The dude recording us is a special effects artist, so he'd probably know.
Oh yeah, well yeah. What would they cast it out of if they weren't going to use it on a movie?
Yeah, I don't know. He's told me before. He knows all that jargon.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What I really loved about Part 3, honestly, the gift shop there, because I feel like Tremors didn't get the merchandising, not really any toys or any, like, it didn't get a lot of cool collectibles, Those video store things we're talking about are about as cool as it gets, really.
Yeah, there's nothing out there. And again, I don't know why. I don't know what Tremors, what Universal's licensing department is doing. I get requests all the time. I spend every 2 months, I have to answer emails from people saying, hey, I want to do a comic book series. Can I license the rights? And I say, well, you got to call Universal's licensing department and see. I do not own Tremors, and I do this all the time. I get amazing proposals from fans on how to rejuvenate the franchise, and them too. I have to explain I don't own the movies. And they sound so brilliant. I go, man, if I was an executive, I would do this. But,
wow, what a bummer. It's too bad.
Well, it's the Hollywood game. I mean, many decades ago, before I ever started, the studios realized they wanted to own their screenplays and own their material outright, and all the contracts going way back say exactly that. Universal's contract is hysterical. It says they own it in every form that exists now or is ever invented hereafter throughout the universe. It literally says that.
Wow. That's
I could go to Mars and use Tremors and I'd get sued.
Wow, damn. I don't know if that's legal.
I don't know that anybody's ever challenged it.
No, but
screenwriters long ago, we accepted the game, and so when you sell a screenplay, you're gambling. You hope they do something good with it. That's why we hung on to Tremors and produced it ourselves.
Yeah, right on. Oh well, thanks so much for doing this, man. We really appreciate it. It's honestly an honor. I never would have thought, being 6 years old, watching this movie on repeat over and over again, that I'd be interviewing you someday. So it truly is an honor.
Well, I'm glad. I find myself saying more and more often, it's funny to be in this position, because I had my own heroes way back in the day. My guy was Ray Harryhausen, if you've ever heard of Ray Harryhausen.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Stop motion. Awesome.
Yeah. And boy, when I met him the first time, I practically fainted. So.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible, dude. Yeah. Wow.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you for making Tremors, dude.
Send me a link when it actually goes up, because I always send these links out. I put it on Facebook and I send it out to all the other Tremors people. So.
All right, I'll definitely send that to you.
All right.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks again. You take care.
You bet. You too. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, Steve.
Bye, Pasadena. Okay.